Risa extended her hand slightly, touching my bangs, then caressed my cheek. Hey guys, welcome back to Fudce playing World End Economica episode 2. By knowing that, you may really be able to save those tempted by the devil. But I won't be saved? Hagana disappeared and couldn't be found. What if she came back, thinking that I raised my heart again? After those 4 years, but the hand I wanted to hold wasn't there. The fact I was projecting on Risa wasn't anger. Something was me just wanting to be spoiled, and Risa knew this. It's impossible as long as you believe you can't be. She said those cold, forsaking words with a smile. So at times like this, I really felt fortunate to have met Risa. I'll take that to heart. I'd love you to take it to heart the joy of proper table manners while you're at it. Sorry. That's the only thing I didn't refute or joke about. I'll just stare at that picture for hours, to be honest. Risa flipped up my bangs and picked up a bottle of brandy and stood up. But it isn't wrong. Huh? If one believes God does not exist, then even if he were to appear before you, then you wouldn't think it was him. In that sense, the world is formed around the desires of the individual. Those of faith find salvation. It's what those words mean. So even if it's true that Hagana isn't here, the world you seek is completely different depending on whether or not you think she'll come back. I couldn't even register it as being agonising. Risa, what is it? It's almost like you're a nun or something. Well... When Risa glared, I showed that I was trying to give a little payback while raising up the corners of my mouth with my fingers. Risa gave a sheesh as she stood up and put liquor back in the cupboard. As she did, the sound of a door opening could be heard from over towards the shower room. Chris came out, fluttering the twisted up hem of a rather thin shirt, which was probably her pyjamas, and recalled quickly that I was there. That's adorable too. I don't know which image to use for the opening. She looks like she should be lemony fresh. To be fair, she just had a shower, so this probably is. Frantically, she's let go of him and wiped her face with a towel in fluster. Oh, you're still here. She blurted out an excuse with a weak smile as Risa, the manager of morality, slumped her shoulders with indigestion. I was thinking I should be getting back. I could tell that Risa was glancing over at me. But I certainly wasn't that stupid. There's something I want to ask. What would that be? It's improved up quite amazingly. There's a lot I want you to teach me. Of course! She squealed with glee on her face that sparkled as brightly as her freshly washed golden hair. Just when Risa was passing by on her way to the entrance, she stuck the towel on Chris's shoulders and gently moved it to drop over her chest. Before that, can you change? This might be what she used to wearing, but a thin shirt can never completely cover a blossoming woman. Chris went into a panic, not knowing what to do. She ended up dashing her through the room as Risa instructed. Why other girls who come here like that, I wonder? Isn't it because of you? She appeared quite subdued, but I think Risa wasn't really bothered by small stuff. I often see her come out of the washing room, exposed shoulders, going to get a drink of water. I wonder if refute that, but a few things come to mind. I think it's great the way I like you, though. Not bad. She pointed at me, then sighed, going to the door. Watching Risa leave like that, and Chris returned having just phoned something on, not even wiping the sweat off her shower. Hagana was like this 4 years ago. She was in the midst of writing a stock program. She jumped out of the bathroom, not even caring if she was naked or not. She came up with something. With that in mind, Chris was timid and easily ashamed. So she was still classifiable as a sensible girl who was easy to get along with. Her frame was also a bit different from Hagana's delicate and malnourished form. A sweet aroma of soap from freshly washed body filled the air. It might have been from her damp hair, but her face looked more mature, so attractive that it was hard to reconcile with the appearance of that muscle-bound father. If only I hadn't met Hagana, I wasn't completely without those thoughts. But it's truly because Hagana was there that Chris thought of me like that. It turns out one of the reasons she'd been seeing Hagana and me so engrossed in what we were doing. The world never ran that smoothly, even now as someone who got into a little older, open-minded enough to cover my naked truth. I'm off tomorrow. We'll be going back that soon, so you don't need to rush. As I said that, a droplet fell from Chris's bangs. She stared blankly for a moment and laughed sheepishly. I spent most of the time on my days off in my dorm room going over my classes and catching up on reading. The moon moved at 6 times the speed of terror. With my body like this and my lack of money, I was certainly in the way. So while I ate breakfast, I finished up my work of a college whose campus I never stepped foot. I accessed the library of my terminal and downloaded The Wisdom of Humanity while I took a seat in a near window and read until noon. After that, I ate lunch and took a nap and read or gazed outside. Given the poor housing situation on the lunar surface, the dorm let me out to a public office. Wasn't great, but I didn't hate the view from my room. But there's a large waterway outside my window, surrounding both sides of the meanders were shabby buildings and houses, giving the appearance of a mountain stream. The space above the water was open, all the same making me feel like I could just soar through it. There was a neighbourhood ferryman with a gondola-like ship using the waterway as transportation route, taking people and luggage back and forth. I rested my elbow on the windowsill, chin on my palm, gazing down on the lives of the lower class of the lunar surface. What I thought about my school wasn't my school subjects or anything like that. What filled my mind was yesterday, me staying late until night speaking with Chris, only finally leaving after being kicked out by Risa. Probability theory, differential calculus, number theory, also arithmetic, which anyone could do. It was basically all the tools Chris used, all of which could be summed into a textbook of moderate difficulty. Yet Chris was able to piece those together to further improve Hagana's programming, which was based off my decision making in mathematical formulas. You could say the original data Hagana left was my investing data. When I told how impressed I was which was able to replicate my speculations without her ever conversing with me, she slumped forward and put hands on her knees, and she was holding back from going to a bathroom and smiled. It seems like she had a lot of data. It seems like she'd seen it over and over. She concluded it was difficult trying to find the patterns amongst those numbers and confirmed that to market trends, flickering seemingly randomly like white noise. Contrary to her usual anxious nature, her phrases were assertive and the clauses were quite systematic. She appeared like a well-oiled machine in motion, and that machine was pulling a vast amount of change with unparalleled accuracy from a market. Honestly, I found it refreshing. I feared that, as Hagana's program advanced in accuracy, I would no longer be necessary. Now Chris's program realised my fears. Using my judgment as a basis, continuously searching for information related to the stocks on the market, able to process thousands of brand analyses in the blink of an eye. Its response time was a tenth of a second, able to process more than 1,000 trades simultaneously, without fear, exhaustion, or boredom. With a steady heart, I gazed down at the flowing river and thought, if that's the case, then there will soon be nothing for me to do. After all, everything I could do was being done by Chris's program to a pinnacle of perfection. It was like for 4 years I slumbered, there was another perfect me active. I couldn't be awake 24 hours a day, nor was there anything I could do with mathematics which surpassed Chris's mastery. Yet I didn't have a fear of frustration I held when Hagana was developing the program. I wondered why myself, but I didn't understand. Thinking about it rationally, the improvements made by Chris's program meant that I'd surpass myself as I was 4 years ago. I didn't think it was possible for me to do it so as I am now, but it made me feel rather optimistic. Or maybe it was all because I slept for 4 years straight and was still half asleep. But that didn't sit well with me either, so all it did was irritate me. It was probably because I wasn't making any money. After staring out the scenery from my room for a while, I grabbed my coat and stood up. Chris said the office was open, even on Saturdays. If I left myself there, then I might be able to recall that tension from my past. As I thought about it, simultaneously noticing that it had been a while since I felt like cringing while thinking about such things, I put my lodgings behind me. Cars. They become synonymous with a high-end luxury, much like marble floors. Yet on the lunar surface continually expanded, what we were left with were either boats on the waterways or rail cars. I could understand why tourists were surprised at being their own, like their own cities a century prior, because I'd seen similar scenery in movies. First, my mode of transportation shifted from waterway to railcar, then back to waterway, then to a main Newton City train, then up with me on foot. Finally, I boarded an elevator, descended to my secret base as though delving into the centre of the moon. Even though it was a Saturday, everyone besides Eleanor was there. Good morning. First to greet me was Marco as he was cleaning the front door. Seeing him here cleaning so fervently early in the morning, instead of spending his day off from school with his friends, made me feel like he really was part of this industry, or we really just loved Eleanor. Morning. Good morning. After returning a Lagoff's starchy greeting, I shrugged at Chris as she appeared like a little bashful. I leaned on my cane towards his desk. It was probably mine since it was straightened up nicely. When I threw these words over to Marco, he came across on me. The lady of the house? When I did, Lagoff, with the only desk and window away from the rest, responded as if to rebuke me. Madam is currently out. I see. Seems he wasn't the type who couldn't rise from his canopy bed because of low blood pressure. Do you have a matter that needs attending to? I have one business-related matter. Allow me then. How much capital will be in charge of handling? Spoken just as they expected me to. I already have a message from Madame. 300,000. A seventh of Chris's. It wasn't the same amount I used to gauge the viability of a program in past market data, so I felt it was a fair amount. I was frightening when I felt no strong emotions, only thought, 300,000. I guess it wasn't an amount that felt like it was my own flesh and blood, but I wouldn't feel the intensity like I did back then. When you were able to show profits, it will be raised gradually. Anything else? This is quite a personal question, actually. If it concerns Madame's private life, I cannot answer. I was wondering what kind of investing Eleanor does. Madame does not invest. Huh? However, she is in a daily struggle to expand this institution. What those affairs entail does not please Madame, so I shall not comment thereon. As well, both Chris and Marco are aware and will feel the same. If you must know, then please ask Madame directly. I turned to gaze at Chris and Marco. They both rolled their heads as very apologetic for how things were. Understood. Then, would this be my desk? Yes, please set your own terminal password. Marco answered, so I nodded and took my seat. Also, will trade details be reported daily, weekly? All company trade transactions should be done on these terminals. The company is not responsible for any investing you do with your own money on your own time. Thus, while your work attendance is at your own discretion, you are required to be here to perform transactions. Naturally, in only cases such as Miss Chris and her fully automatic trading program is there as an exception. Meaning investing data can be seen out wherever. Does this displease you? I spoke with an intimidating air, but I shrugged my shoulders slightly. I'm rather relieved that when a catastrophic mistake occurs, it doesn't end up falling on one person. I see. By which you mean you've already experienced that sort of catastrophic mistake. Yeah. It was a blunder that a single person couldn't handle on his own. I could tell that Chris was looking worriedly in my direction when I answered. I could glance at her and tilt my head a bit easily, though. I feel it's more of a plus just to be able to share the blame and hug all the glory. Success is difficult, after all, and failure is too easy. It appears I don't need to argue this point. Wonderful. His face was stern and serious, but it was probably Lagoff's way of joking. As I turned on the terminal, I spoke briefly. Risk and return. An everlasting problem. As I glanced at Lagoff, I got the feeling this would end up being quite an entertaining workplace. Noon came and Lagoff ordered Chinese. Marco prepared the tableware, and everyone ate from large plates. Afterwards, Chris and Marco washed the tableware in the shared kitchenette outside her office, then returned with a set of black tea and coffee on a tray. Lagoff measured out the tea on his desk and poured in hot water using his pocket watch to gauge the time. Marco and Chris took coffee, Chris with sugar, Marco with both milk and sugar. Marco appeared to be doing homework as he took sips. Chris appeared to be looking at something college-related on a terminal as she tossed homework questions over to her. I've been thinking about my investing methods during all this, but it felt like I was going to forget when I was amidst an ambitious collection of moneymakers on Schrödinger Street. Even someone other than Chris would want to pop in on days off if they could make money in such a idyllically calm and peaceful place. However, the mood of this place was the exact opposite of what I was seeking. I looked through Chris's data and market data, trying to search within myself and give shape to that feeling of unrest, but what I could create were yawns. The afternoon rolled. LeGuff and Marco began doing even more work. From what I could overhear on his phone conversations, LeGuff was trying to persuade some investment bank to subcontract out to us, saying if they were to move a large volume of stock to sell, we'd be able to sell them cheaply. Marco was making phone calls to pay for office furnishings, as well as sales promotions for real estate if they wanted to move at office. Anyway, they seem to have been mostly promotional, and I thought offhandedly that lunar surface really is a rolling boil. Compared to a norm 4 years ago, there was an immense number of stocks rapidly swelling, even within what I was glancing over. Here and there were ones double in a few months, and to extremes that some had even tripled or quadrupled. I couldn't really say in good faith those companies' finances were stable either. I could only see their investing acts of insanity. There were quite a few companies that basically looked like they were saying, "We'll pay you, so please sell our goods." When you looked at those companies' homepages, they were, without exception, standing strong, audaciously stating how they were lords of the moon, defying conventional terran wisdom. But say they were applying a brand new, never-seen-before-on Terra transit technologies efficiently to dramatically improve, or stuff like how there were a number of architects who need to be given a special permission to use their patented projects to correspond to a rapid influx of buildings being built. Actually, quite a few of those big talking companies had a success to back it up, and it appeared like they'd be succeeding from here on out. What's frightening was the normal unthinkable amount of money we're borrowing, and that we're sinking into advertisement and corporate expansion. I understood full well that you must take the risk of returns, but in that sense, you could say they were right. But my negative response to this risk, which I could only see as recklessness, made me think I must be getting old. Or it was just stained with feelings of failure. The phone rang occasionally, with LeGuff or Marco taking it. Chris remained glued to a display, sometimes looking down at a terminal in her hand, solving some sort of formula. But none of them felt like there was anything strange with the state of the market, being as they were inside it. I felt like I was the only one not moving at the same speed. It left me with a sensation of similar to isolation. One of my few releases, when I used Chris's program to test any rapidly growing brands, I wasn't able to make use of them efficiently. Meaning that even the forceful predictions I made 4 years ago, before abandoning the market, were evading such companies and moving straight ahead. Yet the stock prices were breaking through the lunar dome at a fever pitch. What did Chris think about this? Thinking of that, I had reconsidered. No, rather, I was reconsidering the old mirror I'd been using as a basis for Chris's program. I pulled my head out of that inorganic ocean of data when the 5 PM bell chimed, and the end of work, along with the rest of the investing group, were here even though it was a Saturday. Whenever I delved into a data ocean long ago, I remained submerged until exhausted, but it wasn't like that. I discovered nothing even when I delved deeper. Giving a small sigh, I tapped Chris's shoulder. She didn't seem to notice the charm at all. "When you go back, would you mind?" "Huh?" Chris looked startled as I said that to her. "I want to go look around Newton City a bit. Would you go out with me?" She nodded without hesitation, and scrambled to prepare to head out. The lunar capital of Lunar City, with skyscrapers soaring high, with a heart of quieter residential areas surrounding in White City. While quieter residential areas surrounded it in White City. Even further out was the outer area called the Outer District, which divided into divisions 1 to 6. The wealth and influence of the lunar surface was centralised in Newton City, so further out one went, the further apart wealth and populace grew. Some of the poorest districts were heavily rusted and weren't repainted, thus they were called Red Valley. However, recently the cycles of redevelopment had been washing over the poor districts, flushing them out so they weren't even called Red Valley anymore. Instead, those chased out from redevelopment were naturally headed to cheaper and cheaper lands. Thus, after gathering in one area, they then dispersed to other areas, one after the other, like billiard balls. The news called them housing refugees, and it wouldn't be wrong to say that they lost their homes because of economic strife. Even at the government branch office, people chased out their houses by even more devilish means of that than we were 4 years ago, gathered there seeking free legal counsel as if anything could be done about it. This was a true face of a lunar surface which was said to be experiencing unprecedented prosperity compared to all of Terra's human history. I felt like those cold feelings, but I was thinking I may be too pessimistic from spending my entire day staring at the stock market. Just people change, so did the market. So did both myself and 4 years ago. And me, which have been slumbering for all these last 4 years, been wrong. Came to a heart of Newton City because I wanted to check. And what did I want to check? Find out next time. Until then, as ever, thank you very much for watching. My name has been Fudce. Bye bye.